Yes, yes, tell me. That I will be coming here only. Now I will see from where to study. As far as concept of any area is concerned, any subject, all four subjects, the concept, the material, the everything I will share. You will study from there only. Okay. Suppose when I'm sharing notes, I will be taking something from ACCA SEMA material also. I will be taking something from my own material when I studied in my, you can say, C and all that. So everything I will explain with my logic, with my concepts, with my writer. But practicing the questions, because question bank I don't have. The question bank we need to purchase. I will suggest the students should purchase the question bank of Wiley. Suppose I will go efficient learning. Efficient learning. I will share the link of this website. If I want to buy the products from Wiley, Wiley is very, I will say that economical. It's an economical, for that reason I am saying Wiley. So in Wiley, when you go, and the questions are pretty okay. It is better I will go here. Now in CPA, I will advise the student. SOP courses. Under SOP courses, they have said that the different types of materials we can purchase. One second. This is Wiley CPA Test Bank. Wiley CPA Test Bank. The Wiley CPA Test Bank, for each subject, it is all four selected. For each subject, it cost $150. What is included in that? A summary notes on the entire syllabus and the question bank. Question bank is a test bank, task-based simulations, mock papers, everything is included. A student need to have this. When we will study in the class any concept, I will explain. Then we need to have this question bank ready. I will purchase my question bank for my use. You all will purchase your question bank for your use. Reason is that the same password and ID cannot be used on another machine. The student has to have their own ID and password. Like suppose I have already presently the two subject question bank. Just I am showing you the two subject question bank. This is the two subject question bank, which already we have. I will also purchase VEC question bank in coming 1 or 2 days, because for doing the questions in the class, I have to have that question bank. Suppose I am going into CPA test bank FAR. This is $150. You can say in Indian currency INR 12,000. We should be buying the question bank for that particular subject only which we will study. Not all four at a time, not advisable. Because maybe there may be some changes in the syllabus. So you should be buying when you are ready for studying that subject. You can see that welcome, test bank, flashcards, practice exams, then matrix, my account, all these things are there. Flashcards are revisions, short revisions on any syllabus area. Test bank relating to the entire syllabus, all the areas, the questions are there relating to entire area. Suppose in FAR there are 4 parts. So the first part conceptual framework. There are in first part financial accounting, IFRS, then general accounting, consolidation, EPS, special purpose. All these are 6-7 topics are there. For each topic, the total number of questions, how many questions we have done, how many questions we have done incorrect, flagged, that is we want to revise and all that. It will be showing the entire detail. Suppose I want to go into this. And I want to say, do my flagged questions. I want to check my flagged questions again. All 68 questions. I have already done that. I want to check my flagged questions. I want to revise. Flagged means in these questions I found some issues. I thought that I should be revising again before giving the exam. So these flagged questions are coming. The questions will be like this only in the exam. 4 options, you need to select one and all that. But the flagged is done because suppose in a one subject, there are around 3,000 questions are there. When you are doing 3,000 questions, you cannot again do the 3,000 questions. Not possible. It's impossible. So for that reason, if you flag them, then next time you will revise only your flagged questions. And then you can say that, suppose I am going into practice exams. Once my topic wise questions are done, I am going into practice exams. That is, I am verge of giving exam. So I want to do 4 hours mock papers. Practice exams. In the practice exam, there is practice exam A, B, and then unlimited practice exam. Actually, A and B are 2 separate papers. Unlimited means they have mixed and matched from other questions only. These are 2 separate papers. So if I will do first one practice exam A, just like exam hall, in sitting in home, 4 hours, I will check how much score I am getting. Say I am getting 85%. 15% wrong are there. I will analyze where I have done wrong. I will work on them. Then again I will give practice exam B. Again I scored say 82%. Again I found that there are mistakes and all that. Then I will found that where I need to improve. If I am getting a confidence, I don't have to attend unlimited practice exam. I will be giving the exam. If I am not confident, still I will give one more. Then I will give the exam. This practice exam need to be done by the student on its own. Because now you have studied everything. Now you are thinking that if you give exam, whether you will pass or not. So you have to give this 4-hour exam by sitting in home. This is the last preparation required by the student before giving the exam. I can say that the student can book the exam when practice exam A they have given. They scored 80%. Now they found that now they are ready. Book the exam. After 2-3 weeks, you can give the exam. So in 2-3 weeks, you can revise, you can give practice B exam and other exams. That way you can give the exam. That is the process by which students should be preparing. So this question bank need to be purchased by every student. If you say that, sir, I will purchase another question bank, another company, you can. I don't have any issue. Just that, as per my analysis, understanding in last 2 years, this is because many question bank, they are not selling one single paper. They are selling all 4 at a time. They are saying you have to buy the materials also. So then in that case, it's a waste of money. It's actually only one subject question bank and all that offered by Wiley. Becker is good. I'm not questioning. But in Becker, you will spend around 1,30,000 to 40,000. They will not sell you one subject. They will ask you buy all four. They will ask you buy the material also. So 1,40,000 is a huge amount. Yes. I'm saying that. Becker is the costliest material. For CPA, Becker is the costliest material. So you can say that I will advise always the student. Suppose the student is joining with me like you have joined. You have already paid 80,000 to me. Now if you pay for all these four subjects, question bank, say around 45, 50, take higher level 50,000. So 80 and 50, 130 already you are incurring. Now again you will buy Becker, then you should not have joined Saraf Academy. That's a waste of money. Na? There will be videos also, there will be material also, there will be questions also. So in my case, 3,000. For each subject, 3,000 questions are there. 3,000. Exam paper will be as per exam question. Number of MCQs will be 70, 72. Task base is fixed. But if you go into total, the 3,000 questions are there and the task based simulations are around 150, 200 are there. So 3,000 MCQs and 200 task based simulations are there. And then the mock papers, 2 mock papers separate and then unlimited mock papers. Those are there with that flashcard, some revision material they give. These are the things they are giving in $150. I think it's decent one. And the Wiley is very famous. I will say that you can rate Becker first. I will rate Wiley as second. Because in economical way, they are helping a lot. So you can see that everybody should have this question bank ready by the next class. Go on this Wiley website, purchase the BEC question bank by paying $150. When you make payment today, they will be giving you in 2-3 days the material. You need to download the material. You need to activate your account by saving password ID and then it will be running like this. Okay. So other than my classes, my material, the students should be having this question bank. Because otherwise how we will practice? Getting? Swarnarka, you were also asking that, sir, from where to get the materials and all that. Now we are going into the subject, BEC subject. In FAR, it's accounts, auditing, regulation, taxation and laws. So those 3 subjects are very specific. But this is an open-ended subject, business environment and concepts. Whatever is not there in FAR, auditing and BEC, that is included here. You can say if you study ACCA, 13 subjects, Indian courses, CA, 20 subjects. All those 20 subjects syllabus is there. Maybe you can say 4 subjects, but there is nothing which is left. So BEC is a residual subject where everything which is left are included. Finance, economics, costing, management accounting, IT, everything is included here. It's a residual subject. You will say that why a chartered accountant or a certified public accountant need to know that. It's not that we as a CPA or Indian chartered accountant will be doing only auditing work or will be only involved in preparing financial statement. Not that. Suppose Neeraj is working as a, you can say, finance specialist in the organization. So he is helping the clients that whether they should be given loan or not by analyzing their financials. Suppose you are involved in an organization in Forex area, Forex management, the clients Forex management you are looking after. You are appointed, say you are working in Hindustan Unilever as a CP only, and you will be helping the company in capital budgeting. So it's not that we as a certified public accountant will be doing only the accounting and the auditing work. Not that. Accounting, auditing, taxation, corporate governance, finance, capital budgeting, economics, everything we know because that's the business nature. So they are saying that if this syllabus would not have been there in any commerce course, if this would not have been there, then the commerce student will not be able to handle those responsibilities. So for that reason, in every course, not only CPA, the every other studies we need to do. Now by studying IT, we cannot become a software programmer. We are not going to become a hardware person. By studying economist, you are not going to become economist. Even knowledge of economics in my case also is not very heavy because economics is a separate field, you know. So all these areas which are here are, you can see that, suppose finance. If you study finance in ACCA or CIMA, it is at greater level. Here it is at lower level. That I can understand. But then finance, everything is there. Future, options, swaps, capital budgeting, NPV, IRR, everything is included. IT, without IT, no, not a single organization can work. We cannot work. I cannot work. So knowledge of IT, basic understanding. What are the information system, MIS, how they work, how they help the organization, those things are there. I can say that in this BEC, two areas are theoretical. One is corporate governance and one is information technology. And three areas are numerical. Numerical means calculations and all that are there. You can say finance, you can say costing, and you can say economics. Because in economics, maybe you all have studied in graduation or any time. National income, GDP, unemployment, all these things, demand, supply, demand curve, elasticity of demand, all those things, economics syllabus is there. You can see that for understanding pulse of business, we need to have some basic understanding of economics. So in the syllabus, the three areas are numerical and the two areas are theoretical. Corporate governance is theoretical. Economic concept and analysis numerical. Financial management numerical. Information technological theoretical. And operations management numerical. Numerical in the sense, I am not using the word practical theory. Because theory is also, if we don't understand the concept, we cannot do any question correct. Suppose we are doing auditing questions. How many times you will read a particular concept? You can't mug up. But if you understand the concept, then only you can do correct. So I will say the entire syllabus is practical. The questions are very practical most of the times. But then corporate governance and information technology, there is no calculation involved. Entire is theory based subject. And economic concept, financial management, operations management is numerical. Yeah, I will share side by side. I have ready, but I want to improve on that. Materials I have ready all the 5 portions, but I want to work on that slightly. Then I will share because I want to improve them as compared to last batch. That's the reason. Otherwise I could have, but otherwise, suppose I would share all the material now, then the problem will be arising that if I will share again, you will get confused. So the reason is that I want to work on them and I will share side by side. Okay. Just that reason. So I have not shared the entire material, I know. Now, in the corporate governance area, it is talking about internal control, executive, non-executive directors, SOX rules. That is in corporate governance. There is no calculation. Theoretical, interesting. I will not say it is boring. This is an interesting area, but it's pure theoretical. The second area is economics, demand, supply, national income, GDP. Then you can say unemployment, per capita income, some calculations are there. I will say many calculations are there because I am using the word numerical. Economics. Like in Indian courses, we study in economics in foundation level. That way economics is included here. Because generally in CA, CWA, you don't study economics in inter and final. So the foundation level course of economics is included here. The third is relating to finance, source of funds, application of fund, capital budgeting, valuation of firms, working capital, derivatives, hedging, all are included in this financial area. The fourth is IT. Slightly boring, I will say. You will not enjoy study IT because you will think that some of the things you need to remember, mug up, so that you can do them correct. Obviously, when we will study, we will try to understand everything as much as possible. But sometimes it happens that even I'm not getting 100% what they are saying in that technical language. It happens. The fifth is costing, budgets, standard, variance, performance evaluation. Whatever we study in costing in say CA final, CA inter, whatever the costing portions is there, that is included in the fifth area. So the 5 areas are there. They are saying that the student will be tested in all those 5 areas: analysis, application, remembering and understanding. Remembering and understanding is mainly related with first and third part, which is corporate governance, and IT part, fourth part. Application analysis is related with, you can see, writing skill also, analysis, some data is given, whether it is correct or not, how the organization is performing, ratios and all that. So those 3 verbs, they will be tested. If I will go into breakup of the syllabus one by one, which is as per the institute guidelines, like when I opened the Wiley question bank, it was saying in one area different parts. So in corporate governance, there are 3 areas. One is internal control, one is enterprise risk management, and the last one is other regulatory framework and provisions. So when we will be getting the question bank from Wiley or any question bank provider, the question bank will be divided into 3 parts. 1A, 1B, 1C. In every part, you will have 200, 250, 300 questions. Sometimes maybe 400, 500 questions, like that. All are theory, you understand: internal control, enterprise risk management, and other regulatory framework SOX. Then the second part, economics, which is business cycle. What is economics? Economic funda. Then market, the perfect monopoly market, monopolistic, oligopoly, perfect competitive, characteristics of markets. Here in the first part, demand, supply, national income. Then financial risk, derivative and their risk. That is included here. Management of the risk. That is, again, in the question bank, you will be finding 3 types of questions parts. Then financial and management, capital structure, source of funds, debt, equity, then working capital, then valuation of the firm. In the valuation of the firm, in valuing, what are the method? Asset based valuation, cash flow based valuation, different model, valuing an organization, leasing, debt, purchasing an asset, go for leasing, different options are there. You can say, Neeraj, you will be enjoying this very much because this is fully related with your area. Then information technology, slightly boring, but then here also there are 3 areas. In information technology, what is mission, vision, strategies, all the things are there in every course. I can say that, Pratik, suppose we are studying in ACCA SBL. We have studied this mission, vision, strategies and all that. Now it is not a law. You will be getting the same thing, only written in a different language. Corporate governance, we studied executive, non-executive directors and everything. Slightly SOX also, but you will be getting more detail in corporate governance. Yes. It's not that it is different thing than other courses. Commerce is commerce only. But then everything based on US guidelines. Role of information technology, how information technology help in growth on business. I think you are very well prepared relating to role of growth of technology and all that. Information security, protection, information logical systems, then data security, what are the controls required, and system development and maintenance. So this is IT part. I can say that IT part we were doing in SBL syllabus also, strategic business leader case study also. And then the last part, operations management, which is how we can analyze the performance of an organization, of a department, of a staff, the costing principles, joint product, byproduct, process costing, marginal absorption, ABC, life cycle, throughputs, every costing technique, variance, then process costing approach, measures, benefits, then budgeting and forecasting. How the budgeting can be done, what is the purpose of budgeting, budget preparation, numericals, theory, all are there. This is, you can see, the syllabus. Total 5 parts in the syllabus. Now, when we will study syllabus of BEC, how we will study? We will go into part 3, finance first. Under that I can say cost of capital, then working capital, then capital budgeting, then valuations. In broader, I can divide them into 4 parts. Okay. This we will be doing first. Then we will be doing part 5, which is costing. They are not naming the word costing, but I am saying costing. Costing, first of all, costing techniques. Then you can say decision making by use of marginal costing, then standard, then performance evaluations, and then budgeting. Then I will be going into part 2. Part 2 will be economics. Economics. Under economics, demand, supply, market, national income, derivative, and hedging. I can say before that risk, and under risk derivative and its hedging. Then I can say we will be going into part 1. Under part 1, corporate governance. Under that, what is CG? Stakeholders, directors, SOX. Then we will be going into part 4, which is IT. Under IT, first of all, IT, then it's a system, then it's a control, then I can see use of IT in business. This way we are going to complete our syllabus in 5 parts. I am taking IT at the end. The reason is only one. I don't want to start with a boring thing initially, because otherwise the interest in the course or syllabus will reduce. So I don't want to go into boring things. If you ask me how much time I will be taking, suppose cost of capital, capital structures and all that to explain, I will take around 3 hours approximately. Working capital, I will take around 5 hours. Capital budgeting, 5 hours. Valuation, 5 hours. Solving questions, you can say, because when we solve questions, then only we get the confidence. So along with, suppose I will teach cost of capital, I will be doing in the class cost of capital questions. When I will teach working capital, I will be taking in the class working capital questions. Side by side, we will be go on doing the test bank questions continuously. Okay. So that at the end, we will be doing the revisions better. So you can say that around 10 hours. You can say for this total will be taking 3 plus 5 plus 5. You can say 18, 30 hours. 30 hours will be this. Costing techniques will be taking around 5 hours. Decision making, 3 hours. Standard costing, 5 hours. Performance evaluation, 3 hours. Budgeting, 2 hours. Questions again will take around 10 hours. So it is coming 15, 15. I can say this one also 30 hours. Then comes economics. Demand, supply, say around 1 hour. Demand, supply both will take around 1 hour each. Market, 1 hour. National income, 1 hour. Risk, 30 minutes. Derivatives and hedging of risk, 3 hours. Then you can see questions, 10 hours. So this will be taking say around 20 hours. Then comes corporate governance, explaining all the concepts. I'm not going into one by one. Will be taking around 10 hours. Explanation and 10 hours questions, because very important to solve questions. So total 20 hours. IT, again I will say that explanation will not take much time. 5 hours explanation, 10 hours questions. So it will be taking 15 hours. So total 30 plus 30 plus 20 plus 20 plus 15. Say take 20 only. Let's show 15. So you can say that 115 hours. Yes, telling. 115 hours. Now, we are going to take class Sunday morning. Sunday morning, 8 a.m. till maximum 11 a.m. I will consider 2.5 hours, because generally I teach in every class around 2.5 hours. You say when you are taking ACCA class 7:30 to 10. Her class 2.5 hours I take. But I'm just saying that half an hour extra so that student will not fight. And Thursday, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Okay? So I can say that in a week, 5 hours. I'm not taking 6 hours. In a week, 5 hours class. So 115 by 5. Okay. 115 by 5. 115 by 5 each. 23. 23 weeks. It is coming around approximately, I will say, approximately 20 weeks. Because generally I teach in place of 2.5 hour, 2.6 and something like that. 10-15 minutes always go more. So I will say around 20 weeks. Yeah. So 20 weeks, you can say that November, December, January. November already we are in the second week, you can see. November, December, January, February. By March 10th, 15th, I will finish this. So you can say that if we will be considering in 4 months, in a 3 months, generally we have around 15 weeks. So 4 months it will take around to complete one subject in the class. And then the student can give the exam. Once the classes are complete, after 15-20 days, we should give the exam. That's my theory. Because otherwise we will lose the rhythm if we don't give the exam. So you can say that this will be our process in studying in the class. How you all need to study? I will say that maybe suppose somebody is very highly educated, somebody is normal or anything. It's a common rule for everybody. We should be attending live class always. Always. That's because otherwise why I am keeping on Sunday or Saturday 8 p.m. Why it is required? Then so we can keep it anytime. We are keeping it at this time so that those who are working, they don't find any challenge. So attend the live class. Even though if you have attended the live class, do the recordings of that class again. Maybe not full recordings, but the recordings as a brush up, as a further study, you should be doing that. Because in the class you will understand. But after the class you will find that you are not able to do the same thing. So for that reason, recordings should be done. After doing the recording, you should be making your own notes, your own write-up, like I am writing in the class slides. You will be making your own notes. Whatever we did in the class, first of all, you will be doing that on your own. Whatever you have done in the recordings, first of all, you will be doing that on your own. That is the first study. Then you can see that the other questions from the Wiley question kit or whatever kit you have, you will be trying other questions. When you are solving a question, you are not able to solve it. You are not understanding. Take the screenshot of the question. Paste it in the Word file. What they have done, what you are thinking, mail that properly. So that you are there in the class or not, I will deal with that. Not after the class instantly. Suppose today class, I will give you recording by tomorrow evening. Because this class need to be structured in a proper way, then only it can be given as a recording to you. So Sunday, since my staff are not working, we will be working on this recording class and we will be giving you the recording by Monday evening maximum. We will try our level best to give you Monday afternoon only. And then it will be there with you only. You can see the recordings anytime. But on one single laptop, on one machine. Okay? And for that, you need to install the software also. My team will help you to install the software. Then they will be running on that laptop. Okay? The laptop should be window based. If it is Apple, MacBook, okay, chalega. But you need to install window processor. In the MacBook, you need to install dual processor, window processor, then it will be running. Okay? Every class, whether you attend live or not, you will get the recordings. No. In mobile, the software doesn't work. We are developing the mobile technology. It will take time, but presently no. Mobile mein nahi chalega, sorry. Recordings will not run, but materials you can open anywhere. or Wiley question bank you can open in mobile, that's okay. But our recordings will not run on mobile. Okay? Now, cost of, I can say, part 3, finance, cost of capital, capital structure, source of funds. This is the area, first of all, we are discussing. For doing business, we require money, funds. For any business, whether it's a Saraf Academy or the biggest organization of the world, the funds are available by two sources. I can borrow, which is called debt, or the owners of the organization will be giving the funds, that is, you can say share capital, shares. In a private company, Prakash Saraf will be giving the money. In a listed company like Reliance ITC, they can issue their shares in the market. They can issue the shares to existing shareholders. So in any organization, there are two ways to raise the funds. If we are talking about corporate, if I am talking about an individual business, individual himself can give money to the business as capital, or the individual business can also borrow from banks. We can say that the funds can come from another source also, which is called purchasing something on credit. Assets purchased on credit, goods purchased on credit, services taken on credit. That is also a fund arrangement. But the credit when you take, that is for a limited period, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, depending upon norms of the business. After 2 months, from where we will get the money? After 2 months, how we will pay that person? So for the time being, for our initial understanding, I am not considering that as a source of fund. I am considering source of fund as debt or equity. For doing business, I require funds which will be there with me for 4, 5, 10 years. I will repay that. I will give the return to the person, those who are investing. But I want the funds in the business for a certain period, so that I can invest that in the business. I will be able to generate return, income, and that I will use to pay to the fund providers as return, as principal payment, whatever you say. Every business in the world requires source of fund. The source can be divided as debt or equity. When we go for debt, suppose in Saraf Academy, I am borrowing from banks. I am borrowing funds from banks, or maybe I am taking loan from Neeraj company. I am borrowing. I need to pay debt. I need to pay interest as per the rate terms which is decided. I need to pay the interest and I need to pay the principal back. I need to pay the principal back. As per the contract, as per the terms, when I borrowed money, I need to pay the principal and interest back. The question is that when I am borrowing money, when I am taking debt, then if I will not be able to generate income in my business, maybe the funds is not giving me proper return, I am suffering losses, then also I am bound to pay interest. Then also I have to pay the principal back. So when we go for debt, the risk in life, the risk in business increases. Debt increases financial risk. Debt increases financial risk in business. Why it is called financial risk? Because it is because of finance I am facing this risk. If I will borrow money, if I will take debt, I have to take risk. Then why not I am borrowing? Why not I am arranging funds through equity only? Why I am going for debt? I should not be going for debt. When the risk is there, I should not be going. But the debt providers require lower return, and payment against debt is tax deductible. Payment against debt is tax deductible. Not in India, everywhere in the world. Everywhere. When you borrow funds, you are paying interest. That interest will be deducted from your income. And on the net income, you will be paying tax to government. But if you are taking money from shareholders, equity, whatever you pay to the shareholder as dividend or whatever, that will not be deducted from your income. You will first of all on your income pay tax to government, then you will be paying return to shareholders. But in case of debt, first of all, you will deduct whatever you are paying to debt holder, then you will be paying to the money, then you will be paying taxes to government. So whenever you are going for debt, there is benefit of taxation. And the second benefit is that if I am taking money from shareholders and if I am taking money from debt providers, that means bank or anybody, the bank knows that Prakash Saraf Academy need to pay the interest to them. If I will not pay, they will sell my assets. Generally, the loan, the debt is secured on the assets. So I am bound to pay them the interest. I am bound to pay them the principal. The assets are secured. The assets are given as a security against the debt. So if I will not be able to make the payment, they will be able to get their money by selling the assets. So they have risk less. Those who are giving me the money, their risk is less. They are sure that they will be getting the interest and the principal payment back. So for that reason, they are taking less risk. So they are asking lower return. But if I am taking money from shareholders, shareholders are subject to market risk. Read offer related documents carefully. If I am investing in Reliance shares, whether Reliance will give me dividend or not, whether Reliance share price will increase or not, God knows. If you are investing in the company as a shareholder, you are giving money to the company as a shareholder, the company is not giving you any guarantee. Any return is not guaranteed. You are not secured on the assets. So the shareholder who are giving money to the company, they are taking more risk because they are not sure about getting the return. Maybe they will get the return, maybe they will not get. So in that case, they require higher return. So the problem is that if I will take money from shareholder, suppose I am taking $1 lakh from shareholder, the shareholder want a return 15-20%. But if I am taking $1 lakh loan from bank, then the bank will be asking 10% return. This is 10-15, I am saying hypothetically. The debt holder are taking lower risk. They are secured on the assets. So they are asking me lower return. But the equity holders are asking me higher return because they are taking more risk. So if you raise funds, if Saraf Academy will raise funds from shareholder, then the shareholder, we need to generate return for shareholders more. The cost of that funds which I need to give to the shareholder, the return which I need to give to shareholder is more than the return which I need to give to the debt holder. And at the same time, in case of debt, I will be getting tax benefit. But in case of equity, I am not going to get the tax benefit. Normally we say in life, in finance, no risk, no gain. No pain, no gain. So if you go for debt, the cost is lower, tax benefit is more. But if you go for equity, the cost is high, tax benefit is not there. So the problem is that if the company want to reduce risk, then the fund should be raised through equity. And if the company want to reduce cost, then the fund should be raised through debt. But the company want both. They want to take the risk at proper level depending upon their capacity, attitude, and they want to reduce the cost also. So for that reason, a mixture of both is desired. You see 100 balance sheets, 100 companies. You will find out of 199 companies, they have a mixture of debt and equity. Somebody has more debt, somebody has less debt. That's other thing. But you will find that in most of the organization, both debt and equity are there, because we need to manage risk also and we need to reduce cost also. Now, suppose in Saraf Academy, debt is 60% and equity is 40%. Cost of debt. Cost of debt means whatever I need to pay to the debt holder after getting the tax benefit is say 8%. And cost of, we will understand how to calculate cost of equity, types of debt, types of equity, everything we will understand. But before going into that understanding, my basics would be clear, so that the technical understanding I will get automatically. So for that reason, I have not stated how to calculate cost of debt, the types of debt and all that. I will come. First, I am giving a basic understanding. The cost of debt 8% and the cost of equity is say 15%. Means if I have taken money from debt holders, if I have invested $100 in business, $60 is debt. And the debt holder requiring interest, principal payment, I am getting tax benefit. To debt holder, I need to give 8% return. And to equity holders, equity shareholders, whatever money invested in the business, $40, 40%, 15%. So average cost of funds. For 60%, the cost is 8%. For 40%, the cost is 15%. So what is the weighted average cost? 60 into 8, 4.8, 40 into 15, 6, 6 plus 4.8, 10.8%. In Saraf Academy, hypothetically, any company, when this is the data, then whatever money they have invested in the business, they need to earn 10.8% on that. They need to generate a return of 10.8% to satisfy their investors. You can say that shareholders are subject to market risk. Read offer related documents carefully. The company is not giving you any guarantee. But if I am invested in Reliance and Reliance is not giving me dividend, not giving me return, I will sell the Reliance share, I will buy another company's share. Why I will remain invested in the company? So loss to me is less, but loss to Ambani is more. So even though we can say that for shareholders, there is no commitment. We don't have to give any return fixed. But if we don't give them the desired return, they will be dissatisfied. That will have adverse effect on the company. If you want to do a proper business, you have to generate proper return. So we can say that suppose with this example, the average cost of funds in this company is 10.8%. Say for understanding purpose, I am saying 11%. Say 11%. Now Saraf Academy will be providing training classes, doing business the way they are doing for coming 5, 10, 15 years, forever. My life is say 20 years. After my life, what will happen, I don't know. But at least for 20 years, Saraf Academy will be functioning. So for those 20 years, Saraf Academy will be generating income. Income means I am saying cash flows. Cash flows means my sales revenue, maybe cash or credit, because if credit sale also, I will get that money, minus all the expenses which I need to incur in the business to run my show. So for coming 15, 20 years, I will be generating cash flows. Present value of those cash flows. Present value of those cash flows means what? Suppose $1 lakh every year forever, because business will go on forever. Business will go on forever, so $1 lakh forever. So present value equals to $1 lakh divided by 11%. $1 lakh divided by 11%. 10% will be 10 lakh. 11% will be slightly less than 10 lakh. Say it is coming How much it will come exactly? 9 lakh something. 90990. Okay. 909090. 9 lakh 9,090. We are saying that if I want to sell my business, Saraf Academy business, then my value of the business is 9 lakh 9,000. Say 9 lakh. Say 9 lakh dollar. The earnings which I am going to generate, the cash flow which I am going to generate in my business, Neeraj or anybody, if not understanding divided by 11%, we will understand that. For the time being, I am not taught time value of money. Don't worry. Just that for the time being, I am giving a basic introduction. We have to study how to calculate 8%, 15%, everything. But if we start doing technical study and without any concept, there is no purpose of study. So first of all, I am going into why this is there in the syllabus, in any syllabus. Sir, for loss making companies, do we exclude tax benefit on debt? We will, because if you think that you will be loss making forever, then not. But we always think optimistic now. Maybe presently we are suffering loss. The loss will be carried forward in future. So we will be saving tax in future. In any money, anywhere in the world, the losses are carried forward. In India, everywhere. So the loss will be able to save you tax in future. You can say that you will consider tax benefit in future. That's okay. But you should be considering. In any business where there is continuous losses, not going to be chances of gain, then to the business will be closed out. Now, I cannot survive when I will be gone suffering the losses. The viability of getting the income should be there. So even though in a loss making company, we will consider cost of debt after tax. On the assumption that the company will be generating income, they will be able to cover the losses. That way. Not an issue. I am saying that what is my saying here? That in my business, whatever I will be able to generate, whatever, is in present value term 9 lakh dollar. So if I want to sell my Saraf Academy to anybody, I will be asking that person to give me 9 lakh dollar. You can say this is value of the firm. This is value of the firm. We will study valuation later, but this is, you can say, basic understanding of valuation. I want to increase the value of Saraf Academy. I want from the buyer more money. I want to increase the value of Saraf Academy. How can I increase? I want to increase value of a firm. Can I say there are two methods? Increase cash flow. One option, increase cash flow. Another option, reduce or decrease cost of funds. Because if numerator which I have taken 1 lakh will become 1 lakh 10, 120, 130, then the value will be 1 lakh 20 by 11%. Or if the numerator remain 1 lakh, but the denominator in place of 11% becomes 10.5, 10%, 9%, then also. The value of a firm, the value of an organization is a positive correlation of the cash flows which the organization will be getting and the negative correlation with the cost of capital, with the cost of funds. For the time being, when I am discussing source of fund, cost of capital, capital structure, everything, I am becoming ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus means I am not thinking about income. I am for the time being ignoring the income. So I am saying that if I can reduce this 10.8%, which is 11%, to 10%, 9%, then my value of the firm will increase. Say for the time being, ignore the cash flow. Forget about increasing the cash flow. Focus on reducing the cost of funds. Suppose I made debt 70% and equity 30%. I have increased the proportion of debt. So 70% into 8% and 30% into 15%. The weighted average cost 5.6, 4.5, 10.1%, which is, I can say, 10% approx. Now I will divide 1 lakh by 10%, it is coming 10 lakh. So if I am the finance person in the company and I have the responsibility to manage the source of funds, my job is to manage the source of funds. If I want to reduce the cost of capital, it's a simple mathematics. The 8% is given higher weightage and 15% is given lower weightage. Earlier 8% was given 60% weight, now 8% is given 70% weight. So when you calculate average, the lower rate is given higher weightage. Obviously average will reduce, but the company becomes more risky. You understand? Earlier there were 60% debt, so the commitment was there for payment of interest principal for 60% of the funds. Now the commitment will be there for 80%, 70% of the funds. So the risk is more, but the cost has gone down. And if the cost is going down, yes, it will come. If I will say that it is not increasing, say for the time being I am saying that 15% is not increasing, then I can say that I should be doing this because value of my company will be increasing. Because by this, if the cost of capital is going down, then I should be increasing the debt portion in the company and I should be, you can say, increasing my value of the firm. That not me, everybody, you all in the class or anybody in the world will think. At the same time, if I will be doing any new project, I require funds, and if the cost of funds will be lower, I will be able to do many new projects. And if I will be doing new projects, new growth, my income will increase. When income will increase, numerator will increase. The value of the firm will increase. The value of the firm depends upon the cash flows and the cost of capital. The cash flows increment depends upon the cost of capital. You will be able to do new projects, many things, when the cost of funds is lower. And if you are not thinking about new projects, not thinking about increase in earnings, then also your existing earning, when divided by a lower cost of capital, it will increase the value of the firm. So as a finance manager, as a finance guy in the company, if I am the person who is looking after the source of fund, the cost of capital part, my objective is to reduce the cost of capital. But consider the risk factors before changing the debt and equity portion. Because if you increase the debt, you have to consider that you are taking more risk. And most of the times, like Pratik is saying or anybody will say, when you increase the debt, the cost of equity will not remain 15%. Why? Because if you have more debt, there is more commitment. The shareholders' risk more increases because they will think that nothing will be left for them. The company will not have anything left to pay dividend. What the company will give return to shareholders? Nothing. So when the debt increases, the risk increases. And the increase in risk increases cost of equity. Increase in risk increases cost of equity, which Pratik was saying, which I will also say later, but cost of equity increase. So we cannot say 100% that if I am increasing debt from 60 to 70%, cost of capital will be going down, because 15% will also be increasing. So it's not essential that when you go for lower cost funds, then the total cost of funds will be going down. It's not sure. But that doesn't mean that the companies should be doing business only through equity. Reliance is moving full equity. Because of Corona and all that, they change their business model. That's other thing. But if they are doing the business with equity, then in that case, the tax benefit and all that they will not be getting. That's not the business model for everybody. We are saying that we need to, because there is no formula for this. Even though if you study finance, and we will discuss in coming classes, you will say that there is a formula for reducing the cost of capital. It is not going to come. The formulas are there, but the formulas are not applicable in every practical situation. So there is no formula like that. One more thing we need to understand. If I have generated profit in business by doing business in 2020, Saraf Academy has profit. Cash balance, bank balance is there. Profit is there. Why not to invest that in the business? Why to arrange funds extra? Why? That funds which the company is profit after paying taxes, expenses, everything, whatever profit is there, the company can invest that in the business. That means the company is saying to the shareholders, those who are the equity providers, that the company has generated income, but we are investing that in the business. We are not giving you all the dividend. We are investing in the business. The shareholder will think that then why we have invested. The shareholder will think that then why we have invested. The company need to give them the logic that if we give you the dividend, if we give you the money, you will invest this money somewhere, anywhere. You will get a return. Whatever return you will get by investing your money, we will be giving you more return by investing in the business. We will be giving you higher return. Some of the shareholders are thinking that they will not invest. They want dividend income for running their life. They have invested in the company for getting regular income as dividend. The company cannot say to them this, that where you will invest, because they are not investor. They have invested in the company for getting regular income as dividend or whatever you say. So they are not going to understand this alibi. They want regular dividend income. So there are companies who generate income, but they bound to pay regular dividend because they have made that notion in the mind of the shareholders that they will be paying dividend regularly. But there are companies who have made a notion in the shareholders' mind that they will be investing the money if the opportunities are there. They will not be paying any dividend. You are the shareholder, I am the shareholder, anybody is the shareholder. We need to decide in which company we will invest. What is our objective? And accordingly, the company will be satisfying us. I can say that those companies which are giving less dividend, which are investing most of their money in the business, those companies are generally called high growth companies, because they are investing maximum money in the business. Means what? They give money to the shareholder. Whatever return shareholder can get, they can generate more. The growth oriented company pay lower dividend. But the companies where growth is less, where growth opportunities are not there, or the company has made the rule by their past experience that they will be paying handsome amount of dividend, whatever they are generating income. So now new tax, it's beneficial to invest only since LTCG is taxable at lower rate than dividend rate. This is the lower rate. If you go 2-3 years back, LTCG was not taxable at all. Long-term capital gain was exempt. That's always there. Because if you invest for a longer term, then the company can use your money for a longer term. If you invest for a shorter term, then the company cannot park your funds at a better projects. Because generally, whenever we are saying capital budgeting, the return will not be there in 2-3 months. It will be coming in 5-6 years. That's different thing. I am saying that why I am started saying this generating profit and then why not to invest in the business. I am saying that for source of funds, it's not that we need to take loan. For source of funds, it's not that we need to issue shares. For source of funds, whatever profit the company has generated, that also can be invested in the business. But if you invest that money in the business which we have generated as income, the question arises by the shareholder what we will get. So either the company need to give them the capital appreciation, the share price in the market should be increasing for those companies which are listed in the stock exchange. Those companies where the share prices are not increasing, they need to pay handsome amount of dividend. The share prices will be increasing automatically in a growth oriented company. Suppose Coal India or any company NTPC, like government type of companies. I'm not saying growth is not happening, but the growth is single digit. These types of companies, Hindalco, have made a rule that they will be paying huge amount of dividend. But if you say Reliance, if you say ITC, if you say these companies, I'm not saying they are not paying dividend, but they are investing their money more and more into the business. The shareholders are investing these companies for getting the capital growth. So in these companies where capital growth is there, those companies are not actually borrowing funds from anybody. They are not taking loan. They are not issuing shares. They are investing their earnings in the business. And those companies where they are not getting adequate earnings, or those companies where they are paying huge amount of dividend, they have to arrange funds for their growth purpose. For any new venture, they have to arrange funds. So I can say that the source of fund, that is debt or equity, is also dependent upon how much earnings we are generating, and out of that earnings, how much dividend we are paying to the shareholders. The source of funds depends upon the company's dividend policy. The source of funds depends upon what project we can do. What are the opportunities available? So I can say investment. Investment in any new project, in any new venture, in any new business, in any growth project. Investment depends upon source of funds, because if the source is from debt, cost is lower, equity cost is high, other things are there, depends upon source of funds. And the source of fund depends upon the company's dividend history, depends upon the company's policy to pay dividend. Because dividend, cost of funds, investment are all interrelated. Financing, investment and dividend are all interrelated. They are part and parcel of every company's life. A financing decision relating to source of fund cannot be taken ignoring dividend and ignoring investment opportunity. An investment decision cannot be taken ignoring financing and dividend policy of the company. A dividend decision cannot be taken ignoring the source of fund and the investment opportunities with the company. All three are interlinked. They all need to be decided in in one. They cannot be decided once. And if we study finance, whether it's a source of fund, whether it's a capital budgeting, whether it's working capital, anything, ultimately that is studying of what? Finance, investment, dividend. So whether you study CPA, CMA, US, CFA, ACCA, CIMA, anything, Indian course, they are teaching in finance what? Source of fund, cost of funds, investment opportunity and dividend decision. Any financial knowledge will teach these three things. Here, for the time being, I am not focusing on dividend. I am not focusing on investment. I am focusing my study on source of fund. From where should we getting the funds? What is the area we need to decide or need to think while getting the source of fund? That we are discussing. But whatever we will discuss in the entire finance, that is source, investment and dividend decisions. And the finance study will not complete without these three discussion. Now, when we say debt, I can say one more line that financing, financing, investment and dividend, dividend decisions are interrelated. Somebody will say, what is finance? What is financial management? What do we understand by that? This is financial management. This is understanding of finance. Source of fund, investment of funds, and dividend decisions. That we need to study under finance. For the time being, our focus is on source of funds. I'm not talking about investment or a dividend. I said debt. Debt means what? Loan from bank or financial institutions, debenture issues, subordinate debt, income bonds, junk bonds, debenture, subordinate debt, income bond, junk bond, leasing. That is also a type of debt. And I can say short-term debt also. Short-term debt also. When we are saying that there are many types of debt. We can borrow from banks or financial institutions. Anybody, small company, big company, any company. You need to pay the interest and you need to pay the principal back as per the agreement. Generally, the banks and financial institutions will not give money without security. They require security of assets. Generally, non-current assets. Land, building, plant, machinery, furniture, fixture, generally that. They generally don't offer long-term loan on current assets. Because if you give security of inventory, receivables and all that, then generally the loan which we are getting is a short-term loan, which we need to repay within 6 months, cash credit, overdraft, like that. When we go for long-term loans from banks or financial institutions, generally we need to offer the long-term assets. If we don't have security, we will not be getting that. Debentures. Debentures, you can say that may be unsecured also, may be secured also. If you read the technical language, then generally debentures are said as unsecured. But debentures are secured also, because debentures can be said as bonds, deep discount bonds, like that, or maybe they can said as unsecured public deposits also. The debentures means you are issuing securities in the market. To the public, you are issuing a security, debentures, and they are giving money to the company. That money, again in the debentures, the document, the trust deed, the details are written. What are the assets if it is secured? What are the assets secured, not secured? What will be the interest? What will be the redemption criteria? Everything is written. And the investors pay the money, they buy the debentures, the company get the money, and the company need to pay them the interest and the principal back as per the terms. Subordinate debt. Subordinate debt means in case of liquidation, in case of any problem. First of all, the company will be paying all their liabilities. Creditors, debentures, loan from bank, suppliers, anybody. Before paying to the shareholder, the subordinate debt holders will be paid. So subordinate debt holders are slightly at a lower level at the time of risk. The subordinate debt holders, since they are taking more risk, they want more return. If a company issue debentures, the cost will be lower. But if the company issues subordinate debt, the cost will be higher. Because the subordinate debt holders have a, you can say after the debenture holder, they have the claim over the company. So for that reason, their risk is high, their cost is high. Income bonds, sometimes the company issue bonds, take debt, saying that on the bond, the investor will be getting the interest when the company will generate income, because the interest will be paid out of the income only. Now you understand that it is becoming like equity only. Company will be paying dividend when the company will generate income. There is no income, there is no dividend. Similarly, income bonds. We are saying to the investor, you will get the interest when the company will generate income. If they will not generate income, you will not get any interest. So income bonds are further, you can say, more risky. So income bonds, the investors want further higher return. That is, the company's cost will increase if they go for income bonds issue. Junk bonds, very risky. If anybody is giving money as a junk bond to the company, if the company is issuing junk bond and the investors are purchasing those junk bond and paying money to the company, then in that case, that is very, very risky. Why somebody is taking risk? Suppose in case of takeover, merger, leverage buyout, takeover, I am taking another company. Now the another company is not doing well, or maybe I am not doing well, but I am taking a company which is doing well. Whether I will be able to maintain that company in a proper way, I don't know. If I want to issue bonds and getting the money for takeover, that bonds will have a very bad credit rating, less than triple B. You can say credit rating less than triple B. It's called non-investment grade bonds. Non-investment grade bonds means junk. The return will be very high, but it is very risky. You will say, who will invest in these bonds? In India or anywhere, there are venture capitalists. Yes, it was certain different thing. I will come. It was slightly different, but you can say junk bonds. So I will say that these bonds are purchased by those investors, those who are ready to take high risk. I can say venture capitalist. Venture means risky. So there are venture capitalists in India, SBI Venture Capital, ICICI Venture Capital. So many organizations are there who are ready to take risk because they want 20, 30, 35% return. So they will invest in these bonds. Leverage buyout means suppose a company's management, board members or anybody are not interested in running the business. They want to sell the company. So company's employees are taking over the business, or somebody is taking over the business. They don't have money. For money, they are issuing these junk bond in the market. So which we say as junk bond means very risky bonds. The investor are taking huge risk, but the return will be very high. Or maybe the entire money will be lost. So we can say that many types of debt issues are possible. It's not only loan and debenture. There are different types of issues are possible. I can say preference share also. Before leasing, I can say preference shares also. Preference share is debt or equity. Preference share is a debt or equity. If the company has a commitment to pay dividend, generally cumulative preference shares. If the company has the commitment to redeem the preference share, like in case of loan, we need to repay. So if they are cumulative and redeemable, and you are redeemable, they are debt. If they are non-cumulative, non-redeemable, then they are equity. Cumulative and redeemable. I will say and ya or, any one or both. Cumulative and your redeemable, then in that case they are treated as debt only. Just that in preference dividend, it is not tax deductible. You will pay the preference dividend after paying tax to government. So there will not be any tax benefit in case of preference dividend. And then I will say that leasing, in place of purchasing an asset by borrowing money, I have taken the asset on lease for 5 years, 10 years. I will be paying lease rent. We are saying that it is a form of debt funding only. You are not taking money asset on rent for 1 month, 2 months. You are taking asset on rent for the entire life. You will be paying lease rent against the use of the asset, against the asset. So that is treated as a long-term funding only. So leasing also, many organizations in many industries, leasing is very famous. And we can say short-term debt. Generally, the investment in land, building, plant, machinery, long-term assets will not be through short-term debt. If I'm talking about inventory, receivables, any short-term investments, then I can go for short-term debt. Then in that case, short-term debt should be taken or advisable. Otherwise, I should not be going for short-term debt. When we are saying debt, we are saying short-term, long-term both. But long-term assets from long-term debt, long-term sources. Short-term assets from short-term sources. In the short term, I can say that commercial paper. Commercial paper means corporate issue type of debenture only, a paper, a promise to repay the money, which is having maturity 270 days maximum. Maximum maturity. Maximum maturity 270 days. Only very, very good companies having high credit rating are allowed to issue commercial paper. In the commercial paper, it is not secured, generally unsecured. But the company which is issuing commercial paper, they are very big companies, huge working capital, huge current assets, and their credit rating is very good. So they issue commercial paper and they pay the interest and the principal on commercial paper, redeem within 270 days. Commercial paper is a short-term funding. Cash credit. We can say bank overdraft also, based on the security of inventory and receivables. We can say factoring. That is, we are selling our debtors to bankers. They give us money, factoring. We can think of suppliers purchasing goods on credit, making them payment after 1 month, 2 months. That is called suppliers credit. There are many short-term credit facilities are possible. But the short-term debt are always for what? The short-term debt are always for short-term assets. Not for purchasing land, building, plant, machinery. Not possible. Because if you arrange funds for 2 months and you are investing in an asset which will give you income in 10 years, how you will pay after 2 months? So your short-term funding should be there for the short-term assets, not for the long-term assets. Relating to short-term, we will discuss under working capital. Relating to long-term in detail, we will discuss here. This is, you can say, classification of different types of debt. Then comes equity. Under equity, it can be common shares. It can be retained earnings. It can be preference shares. Preference shares. Preference shares if it is irredeemable, if it is non-cumulative equity. Common shares are always that only. There is no guarantee for payment of dividend. There is no guarantee for payment of any return to shareholders. Retained earning is a part of equity only because when the company has generated income, after deducting all the expenses, taxes, interest, anything, whatever left with the company, that belongs to shareholders. So if that money is invested in the business, that is form of equity only. For common shares, it's a new issue. New issue can be IPO, FPO, private placement, IPO, a company is issuing shares in the market, listing for the first time, initial public offering. FPO, company is already listed in the stock exchange, issuing further shares in the market. And rights shares. Rights shares is also issuing further shares in the market, but not to new persons, to the existing shareholders of the company. To the existing shareholder, when the company issue further shares, then it is rights issue. Private placement. The company is giving shares to banks, financial institutions, high net worth individuals. That is called private placement. Mutual fund like that. Private placement, A public company also listed in a stock exchange can go. Even Saraf Academy can go. IPO, FPO only possible for listed company. Rights issue can be possible for anybody. But the company when going for further issue, that is new shares, and if they are not given to existing shareholder, the existing shareholder control over the company will be diluted. So it's a major area that whether we should be going for funds through equity issue, control of the company. If Reliance will be issuing further shares in the market, if Reliance is giving shares to, you can say, Shahrukh Khan or Facebook or you can say other companies, then the Reliance control over the company is reducing. So they know that they are giving the control 1%, 2%, 3% to others. Then the control of Ambani and Reliance is going down. So that also need to be taken into consideration when issuing funds. Because generally I don't want to lose control over my company. Similarly, in case of Reliance, the promoters don't want to lose their control over the company. So for that reason, when you go for fundraising through equity, we need to think about control of the existing promoters also. Retained earnings, if we have funds, we have generated income, we don't have to go for IPO, FPO or debt. It is better that we should invest the money which we have earned. We say always the best investment is from retained earnings. Maybe it is not going to give you tax benefit, because when you are investing your own earnings in the business, we are not having any commitment. We don't have to incur expenditure for raising funds, for issuing shares, for taking loan. You need to prepare a document, records, approval, consultant, you need to involve. So there will be some expenditures, but for retained earning, there is no cost to raise the funds. The cost is zero. And the retained earning, if invested in the business, are going to give you good return. That can be invested in a business. Whenever a company has retained earnings, they never go for any external fund arrangement. They never go for share issue. They never go for a debt. That's advisable. If you read any technical theory, there are many theories written in the books. That is called pecking order theory, and so many theories are there. Everybody says that the best investment for any business is the retained earning. But you need to think about your dividend policy. Then only the retained earning can be invested in the business. And then the preference shares, as I said, if it is irredeemable and non-cumulative. So it is actually equity only. There is no redeemable, that is redemption will not happen like equity. And we have not said any preference shareholder that we will be giving this dividend and all that. Profit will be there, we will give dividend. Like shareholder, common shareholder, profit will be there, we will be giving them the dividend. Like that the preference shares. First of all, what was my objective? To tell you what is finance. Even though I have written cost of capital, capital structure and all that, but what is finance knowledge? Then I started saying for business, we require funds. Everybody. Any business require funds. The funds arrangement involve two aspects. From where and the cost. From where I can get the funds and what is the cost involved. So if I will think about from where, broadly there are two categories, debt and equity, broadly. But if you go into deep, in debt there are so many things possible. In equity also there are so many things possible. Ultimately, whatever funds you will raise, debt and equity, it is going to affect your cost of capital. It is going to give you cost for the company. That cost will affect your business value, your business decisions, your new project and everything. So cost is an important matter when we think about fundraising. So I have discussed what is funds, from where I can get. I have not discussed about cost. I have not discussed how can I calculate cost of debt, cost of equity. That we need to discuss. Then we can see once we discuss cost of capital, cost of debt, cost of equity, then we will be able to complete the cost. But once after a discussion of a better understanding of cost of equity and debt, we need to discuss slightly about capital structure. That when you have understanding, this is debt, this is equity, these are the options available, this is the cost of debt, this is the cost of equity, then what should be the best capital structure in the company? That in the Saraf Academy, debt equity should be 50-50, should be 60-40, should be 40-60. What is the best capital structure for my company? How can I think that? It will be giving lower risk It will be giving adequate risk and it will be giving maximum value for the firm. That is capital structure that we need to discuss. Then we can see that one portion is complete. The source of fund, debt equity, calculation of cost of capital, cost of equity, cost of debt, and then capital structure. That one area. The second area is working capital. Inventory, receivable, cash, short-term investments, then short-term funding, that is working capital. The third area is capital budgeting. That whether you should be doing this project, NPV, IRR, valuation of a company, valuation of the firm. That is the third area. This is included in your part 3 finance area syllabus. Source of fund, cost of capital, capital structure, working capital, capital budgeting, and valuation of the firm. In any course, SEMA, ACCA, Indian course, MBA finance, any course, this is finance. This is finance only. There is no difference. You just understand that when your concepts are there, then the questions of the institute we need to try. We need to do the questions what is here in the institute right up. I can see that we will be doing the cost of capital part and capital structure in the next class, say around further 1 hour, 1.5 hours. And then we will be doing questions on that part. In the next class, we will be doing that only. Then we will be going after next class in working capital. I will arrange my material BEC by the next class. You all should arrange your material BEC by the next class, so that you will be able to practice on your own with the questions. Okay. So we will be continuing our discussion relating to cost of capital in the next class, because it is going into a different area. Okay. If anybody has anything to ask, you can ask. Otherwise, we are leaving for today. Relating to startup and all that, I will see. A startup will be able to raise funds through private placement only, through somebody in connection only. Startup को कोई बैंक वगैरह लोन नहीं देने वाला है. If the startup is doing a very good business, very good innovation, then in that case maybe Neeraj company can give to startup also, but then they need to be convinced. And how much risk Neeraj company is ready to take, that also need to be taken into consideration. Because a startup means new persons. Started business in 1, 2, 3 years only. A startup technically said as within 6 years they started their business. If you are 6 years older, then you are not a startup. Okay, not an issue. We will discuss other things also in the next class, Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Okay? Thank you to all of you. Take care. Enjoy your Sunday and enjoy your study. Neeraj, enjoy your PAR and AUD. Tada. Thank you.